Hello everyone, welcome to the Advancement Centre and welcome to the world of magic and miracles. Once again, we find ourselves in the middle of a world that's changing. Nothing specific, but everything is changing. As we move into that world from our elevated platform, we start to feel that we're making a difference. That elevated platform of living has become our sanctuary, but also our place where we connect with our origin and we talk to the world in a whole different light to what we ever have before. We're now about to move further into that world and start to display the gifts that we have for each one of them. All the gifts for the world that exists right now. In saying that, I can only describe it as an enhancement of the present world. Each time you touch the world that you know or the world that somebody else knows, it blossoms, sparkles, and produces more than anybody ever expected. So now, with this time of beauty and special advancement, we're about to go further and not only step further above our platform of living, but further into the physical world and the platforms that need to be enhanced. As we do that, we will bring forward everything we've done in the past in an enhanced mode and start to deliver our experience to the world that's forgotten more than what they've ever learnt. So now we're on a path of elevation, but we're going to dive right into our life and grab a hold of it and lift it up to where it's suitable for us. So no more will we be walking around wondering where we're going to get our next dollar, wondering who will accept us and who won't. We're about to walk out there, take on the biggest projects we can get our hands on, and then all come together and push them into life. So the conglomerate that has taken on all the major works will now be glad to offer it to us because we know how to do it. I'm not speaking out of turn. I can prove that I've done this many times in many industries, in many areas. And I know you all come with the same gifts. If someone wants you to build something you've built before, you say, it will take time. If someone wants you to build something that's impossible, you just say, well, it'll just take a little longer. And maybe you'll attack the big one first, because the little one will get done as you go along. We're stretching time. We're approaching everything from a whole different angle. We're approaching things knowing that as we get the detail fed to us from our origin, it has all the detail, all the energy, all the associated requirements, all the people, everything delivered in one package as soon as we step out there and say, this is what we're going to do. It's been known for thousands of years that each person can earn 2 to 10 times as much as they need to survive without any effort at all. And that's why the human being is the most valuable entity to all governments, because there is nothing else that can do that. Even if you're working at a mundane pace, on a mundane job, you will achieve an income 2 to 5 times what you get paid. And the fact that you get a small wage doesn't improve that ratio. You get a big wage, the ratio stays there. This is also known throughout the world. So the average wage is not anything to do with your production level or your earning capacity. So with us all knowing this, we're about to gather that momentum of the entity that we said was building. And we'll go and find out who the big players are in the world that I know I can handle. And if we want to build a ship, a power station, a hospital, a town, a mine, all the infrastructure, train, we'll just build it. Because I've done it all. And I know how to do it from a very high level. Every person that I know is capable of doing the same. All I have to do is stand beside me for a few minutes and they will gain access to where it's all stored. I've run big organizations, I've run small ones. I've achieved the impossible in building naval ships, in building electric trains, modern high-speed trains, building mining townships, building power stations, designing and commissioning the whole lot. And I pulled back because it was time in everybody else's mind for me to retire. But in fact, I've been working on many things in the meantime that enable us to do much more than I've ever done before. And so it's time to come back in with the experience and allow the young ones and those in between who have felt like they're left behind to come out of the woodwork and clean up the mess that we know has been made. Even in the design of the most modern equipment, ships, trains, everything, they're all a minimum of 50-year-old. They're all the designs that are available now are not used because they have systems for producing them that says you have to have something this big, this heavy, and it's got this name on it. Where we can make it this big, no name, and it's much more efficient. I've managed to introduce modern equipment into naval ships because I was the technical authority for the Navy in Australia to build 6 frigates. I looked after everything. I was engineering operations manager. Nobody could switch anything on without my authority, and all the tests that had to be done for the numerous systems on the ship had to come through me to be signed off. I managed to change the design that came out as an original design from the big companies so that it worked properly. And that took a lot of what I used to call headbutting with the Navy and with the authorities. But because I was the authority, I got the opportunity to prove on a finished warship that I knew how to change the whole setup so that it ran safely for everyone. We're about to do this because so many people have so many good ideas that must come into the world. They're not just male, they're female, they're children, they're older people, everyone has something to offer. Because the way the systems have been set up in the past, nobody has been able to enter the field of so-called authority without special qualifications. Well, I believe everybody has that qualification and they can walk in and make something work without having all the paperwork that's there now and without having all the risk. And they can prove what they've done in a fraction of the time of what's being done now. And people will not get hurt because you become part of the whole thing. It's like your own car runs better because you love it. You look after it. If it was in a car pool, it'd probably break down every second day. We're working with plasma. We're working with our input into machinery. And we're working with our input into making one another healthy. And with each one of these things, there's a specific sense of beauty, even though it might look like a little piece of black tin. When you look at it, you feel it's the right ratio, it's the right size, it's going to work. If it's not going to work, you sit with it for a while and find out either what to do or how to change it, and it changes. As we move into big equipment, we won't need the hazard because we know we can work without hazard. We don't need to have things that crash into one another because we know we can design and build things that if they bump one another, they'll either stop or they'll change direction. All this has been available in the world for many years, and I am very familiar with it. Much of it has been taken up in the design of missiles and that sort of thing to make sure that they can control things from a distance that don't run into one another. And many times when they first started shooting torpedoes at one another, the torpedo turned around and got the ship that sent it. So they had to deliver many things that we should have on our roads, that we should have in our life. And I know these things exist and we'll move forward with them. But in the meantime, with us sitting on that platform of living where we're capable of drawing from our origin, we are now ready to walk in and affect the world through our own channels. And those channels will grow very quickly as soon as they are seen by the public. As soon as they've seen that we intend to make things work properly. We intend to have everything flowing to everybody. To the person who has no ideas at all, but loves to make the food. To the person who loves to look after the garden. The person who likes to make sure people are dressed well. All of this is adding to the beauty of what we can present to the world. And so Robert A. Young and Associates will grow in the background, and all the little companies that are under it will all grow at a rate that you won't believe after the end of this month. We've decided that everybody will go on a salary, but we don't know where it's coming from or how we're going to get it at this stage. But once we decide something, it's usually done. So that is the first step, and then we'll decide to do the same with the people that we associate with. And we'll make sure that whatever they like to do is delivered to them. Like if they like to pass on a product, if they like to heal people, if they like to play with flowers and power and all those things, we'll make sure that they get what they need without any cost. And eventually that will recycle so that they get income. And we'll gradually increase this and do what we said we would do a long time ago, and that's make a difference in the world. So it's taken us a while to get to the point where we are totally sure that we live on an elevated platform of living. We're universal beings. We have a monstrous entity that we're building, and we're all enhancing one another's life just by being here. In knowing all that and feeling it, we can enter anything, anywhere, anytime, at any size, and take on whatever we think needs to be taken on without that sense of headbutting anyone, without any objection, without any competition. This is the world of magic and miracles, where you decide something and you never, ever make a decision. It happens in your field, you smile about it, and you watch it happen. And you might work really hard, but basically you're working really hard at enjoying life. But it's not hard work, it's enjoyment. And in that enjoyment, your body fires up very quickly and puts itself in a healing mode in a fraction of a second. I did a little test with Barbara the other day, and I said, do you realize if you hold this meter, which is an electrical millivolt meter, as soon as you read the millivolts through your fingers, you can tell how you're going. And she got really excited. She said, show me how it works. And I put it in the fingers, and it went from the average 25 millivolts up through the roof, past the maximum of 50 to 85, just because of her excitement. That 50 is in major healing mode. So you're going past that and you're going into regeneration because of excitement. And we can measure it. So each time we allow one another to build to that level, we're rebuilding, we're healing, and we're sending it out. We have an excess of beautiful healing energy that goes to everybody. Goes to that big tape recorder in the sky so somebody else can pick it up. What we're talking about now seems a little impossible. But it seemed impossible that we would live on an elevated platform of living. I don't think I could get any of you off it now. I don't think the joy and the excitement of life can ever take a second place again. And as we move further and broaden our scope, you'll start to see how the multitasking works. how you know somebody is going to ask you a question, you know what it is, and you give them the answer before they open their mouth. And they end up saying, wow, I feel better already, and I haven't said anything. And you'll start to do this with everyone and with one another, so much so that you think you're not doing anything. That's good, because thinking is a real problem. Because as soon as you start to think, everything stops. I described once how our connection to our origin is just like the TV station with all the signals coming in at once, and all the synchronizing signals and the speech signals of the engineers and the operators, and all those people interacting, and it works perfectly. And you select whatever channel you want, and you don't hear any of that. But some technician in the background decides he wants to play with something, pulls a few leads, and starts making something that's really good. The whole lot loses its synchronization. People get wrong images everywhere. The whole thing goes crazy. That technician who's building something is called thought. And as soon as thought comes in, it tears your system apart, and everybody gets the wrong message. And then you spend the rest of your life trying to sort out the wrong messages instead of sitting back and watching the movie. So this we've gone past, because we can see it. It doesn't work. When you start thinking, everything else stops and goes crazy, and people say, what's wrong with you? What'd you do that for? And you go, what's wrong with you? I didn't do anything. So the interconnection we have goes crazy. 100% connection to your creator opens millions of channels of special inputs and outputs that keep us on top of everything and give us energies and strength that we have never, ever thought we could possibly use. And so we've never really looked past that little imaginary screen we've got in front of us, which is called our picture. We've never looked past it, and we've never looked into the world of your creator to see that there is none of that. There's all of everything. There is nothing specific. Everything is specific. There is nothing to focus on because it's all in focus. And it's all there at the same time. So as we move back into what I might call our working life, it won't be called that. It'll be called our gift to the world. What we've developed and what we've brought into the world was supposed to go into those channels when we were young. They got sealed off because we were taken below the waterline. So now we're way above the waterline. We're in both directions at one time. And no matter what happens, we can never lose our way. So I suppose I've talked about this for many years. Now we're doing it. Now everyone's doing it. And you'll gradually feel extremely proud of what you've done through your life, because it will rise up and show itself as a gift to the world instead of something you did for some employer. Every essence of yourself will come up and blossom and stand out, not as a CV, not a CV, a resume, not as a resume, but as an actual part of you that you not can present to the world, you are presenting to the world. The number of people in the world is enormous. And for some reason, we all got put in a position where our gift got sealed and held out of the road so that somebody else could own it. All the systems that we have for intellectual property and all those strange things that they came up with are to steal your gift. But it never succeeded, because nobody can decipher your gift but you. Nobody can present it but you. And so now it will blossom and you'll present it, and it doesn't have to be accepted, it is accepted. Because you have a position in the world, you've always had a position in the world, you have a position in the universe, and you have a position alongside your Creator. And now we're going to make this apply in the world that we said would be built in the image of our Creator. Everything is in our hands, not in the hands of those who say, I won't tell you. I've read patents on all sorts of things, and they're just a lot of words that capture a person or persons. They don't capture a theory that works, they capture a description of what works. The only thing that works is what you do. They still have to have the input to robots from humans to make cars, and they still can't get them to finish the cars. There is no way you can get machinery to do what a person does. A person can make machinery do what they want, but they can't take the machinery and get it to do exactly what is specified in a patent. They've been working at it for a long time, but all it does is it sucks in more people in different areas to build more stuff, and so that the industry around robotics is bigger than the industry around the car. But that's about all. So know that we don't have to do any of that. We can enhance everything that's already been built with a simple input of our own beyond technology. The input of plasma energy that we are familiar with. The input of a knowing that will make something work better. So now, we've made a commitment. We'll just sit back and watch it, and we'll enjoy our life, and we'll have all the elements come around us and present themselves ready for what we are offering the world. And we won't go out and do the big fancy television show or the great advertising. We'll just turn up and do what comes to us. So let's see where that goes, and we'll talk about that a little bit further after a 5-minute break. Thank you once again, and we'll see you soon. Welcome back. So we're back on top of that platform again, and now we're going to go a little higher so that we can actually look at the gifts that we have for the world. And if we look at our past, we'll see our past. But if we look at all the gifts that we've attempted to give the world, all the skills, all the input into our children, our families, our friends, into work, into creation, into our athleticism, into our youth, and into the very thing that's presented right now here to the world at large. We have put an enormous investment into our being, and it has qualities that nobody can imagine. Where do we present this? Who do we present it to? You present it to you, knowing that you are the formation of the whole world that surrounds you, including what you see of other people. You present it to you through other people's eyes. That's the part of them that belongs to you. You present in a world that belongs to you. And there is nobody can dispute anything, because it's only you. As we all see that, and we present to ourselves, and watch other people's eyes light up, you'll know beyond a doubt what I'm saying is true. We are such a complex interaction of energies and forces that we have a part of ourselves in everyone around us. But it's not in them. The part we see belongs to us. How many times have you seen a person different to what another person sees them as? You compare, you say, I think that person's so beautiful. Someone else says, well, I'm not real sure about that. Because they're living a different life. They're living a different world. They don't see themselves. And you don't see yourself in anybody else. You see how they see you. But straight into your field. So I always say to people, you know, the part of me that you see belongs to you. You don't have to take any notice of it if you don't want to. You don't even have to focus. And if you turn me off, I'm turned off. But it's not me, it's the part of me that belongs to you. So as we present ourselves in the world, we will become more and more interactive with that part that we thought had to be separate. It doesn't have to be separate. But there is an old component that used to be the one I talk about, the same as thought, where you steal energy from one another, or you steal thought from one another, or you poke at one another. You can try to do that. It won't work anymore. Because all the poking in the world just doesn't go anywhere. It's like trying to poke a hole in the smoke. If it's all steady and it wants you to, it will. But if you say no, you can poke away as much as you like and the smoke won't make a hole. It just still stays to be smoke. So in our interaction with one another, we don't even know what harshness is anymore. There's not a reason for it, and there's not a purpose for it. And in fact, I know in our lives here, We can't find it. You get an interaction from someone who's in that world, and you can't wait for it to walk out again. You go, whew, that's better. But you don't get involved in things because you're not built that way. You're on that elevated platform, and you're presenting your gifts to you, even though you say it's to the world. Once you present all them gifts to you, you can enhance and embrace the world. And that's where we're going. And our best way of doing it right now is to look at the most impossible thing, the worst thing that's affecting everybody, and go on, don't try to change it, enhance it. So we're going to enhance everybody's financial situation. It's as simple as that. And feel the energy that's in that. That allows everybody the freedom to do the same. So imagine where we're all going to be in a very short time. Because if we enhance your situation, you will enhance somebody else's situation, and in us enhancing your situation, we're enhancing our world and our presentation. So it's a little bit selfish. But that's what we have, and that's what we're supposed to be. Can you imagine how good it feels for everybody around you? Be really flush with cash. It does you a lot of good, doesn't it? So let's do it. And that's what I'm here to do. I've made a commitment to make that happen. Where that goes, you'll find out on a progressive basis. But I've never had anything fail. And I don't think you have either. You just thought it failed because you tried to do something that didn't suit you. And somewhere in the background was this little trapdoor that you could open and let everything fall through if you didn't like it. When you're presenting to yourself and you see how that works and you enhance everybody's world around you, and there's a dark shadow, and the dark shadow for all of us at the moment is finance. Let's open it up. Let's undo that dark package and let's see where it goes. And I honestly believe it will open very, very quickly. So it's taken us a while to get to that point. But if you can see that each one of you present all your world, all your gifts perfectly when there's no dark shadows. So if we can take away any darkness, you'll all blossom. And it can be as little as $10 at the right time to change your life. It's not necessarily the winning of the lottery, and it's not necessarily the $10 note. It's the value of what you can pass on at the correct time for the right purpose, and make sure it continues forever. We don't want to get into, here's something that'll be good for a week. Whatever we do has to last forever. Whatever funds we relieve, they're going to happen and continue forever. What we set up will be continuous flow, not temporary or while you're fit or while you're able to work. There is no system that I can tell you I'm doing, except I know that I've done it before. And I think you all know you've done it before. That's why we're here. To step forward, enjoy ourselves, be flamboyant, and make sure everybody around us is the same. Not by changing the person, but by making sure that they've got everything that they need to be as flamboyant as we are. And then our life is supported. It might sound a little bit way out, what I'm talking about. And it might seem impossible. But that's what we're here for. We're here to make sure that we don't rock any boats. We rock them all. Nothing is left out. We don't exclude anybody or anything. We include the lot and watch where it comes out in the mix. Because everything in the universe has a place. Everyone in the universe has a place. Even if you expand, everything moves and changes place for you. So we're expanding. And we're going to expand a lot so that everything moves and it finds its own home where it's supposed to. And the elevation will continue to increase as our world gets bigger. That's how you make everything increase. You increase the size of everything, you increase the elevation. You increase the acceptance level because you've increased the size of the world. You increase your ability because you've increased the size of your world. And the only time you feel you have incapability is when you've let your world shrink around you. That's a physical feel that you've let shrink around you. And you get low, of course you can't float, and you come down this way, and you end up sitting in a little ball, almost in the fetal position. So we spent time to open all that up and get on top of the wave, on top of the trampoline, float on top of everything, and now we're going bigger and better. Now have a look at us. All the influences that have specific names will disappear because the only problem we have has a name. There's nothing unless it's named that can be a problem. It's not even described. You know, they tell you you've got an ABC illness. You go, oh, okay. You don't even ask what it is. You go with that. All that is melting. It's all a clear joke. Because we're from a world of magic and miracles, we got stuck with the dirty jokes. And now we're into the light-hearted jokes. Being light-hearted, frivolous, and flamboyant is our world. So as we progress, each one of you will progress. And it's not a case of following anybody. It's not a case of doing what anybody says. It's a case of, wow, that suits me. I could really take that on. But that's how the entity of the magic of life is actually building itself and bringing to everyone more and more and more every minute. So listening is not through your ears, it's an experience. Interacting with one another is an experience. I mean, to just sit and look at somebody and smile and not be embarrassed, not have to say anything, not have to turn the television on. It's quite an experience. And to be able to walk around the house, not even interfere with one another, and as you pass you say, oh, hello, that's an experience. So each one of us in our own world is making more space for themselves. Your house might not be very big, but I can tell you, as you grow, there's more space. There's more space in amongst people. And there's more space to demonstrate your brilliance and everything that you brought into the world and placed over the years ready to call on at a moment's notice. Because that's what most of us have done. Place these gems throughout our life. And now all we have to do is get that thing called time and just get the end of it, tie it together and just pull it really quickly and let everything come back together. And we're there. And if you can see that, all your gifts come back immediately. I did that for my father just before he died. And he came alive for about 10 hours before he left. And he was so pleased that he could feel himself again. So we can all do that for one another. We just extract time as we see one another. We go, wow, if you were a child, I would have seen all that. But you're not a child, you're older, so I don't do it. But if you see everybody the way you'd see a child, you can see their attributes, you can say, wow, she's going to be a dancer, he's going to be a doctor. You can see that. And you can see the capability in each person. And that's what I do when I select people to work with me. I've had thousands of people working for me. And all the human relations type people totally disagree with me. They'll say, we've got 1,000 applicants for 2 jobs. We'll go through and take some out and tell you the most qualified. And I said, no, give us the lot. And I don't even read them. I just leaf through them. And I put the ones that suit on one side and the ones that don't suit on the other side. And they come up and say, how did you do that? I just did it. Why? You've picked all the best people in that pile. I said, yeah, I know. And I think it's the 3rd one down who's going to get it. And I haven't read any of them. And this is because we know one another. We know exactly the picture of each one. If we just take time out, let all that come together, we're holding up all these pictures of ourselves and what we can do and what we want to do for the person that we're attending to. And they're saying, show me your qualifications. So it doesn't work anymore. So as we move on, you'll find that the formalities disappear, particularly around us. And the formalities will disappear in the world because people will find that they can't get anyone to fit a specification. Doesn't work anymore. So they're going to have to rely on the fact that people are people. And the best measure of a person is a person. There is no intervening paperwork that can prove one person better than another. And you might call yourself an engineer because you have qualifications and you passed one exam. Most engineers, when they start off, would not have a clue what an engineer is. and some go to the end of their life exactly the same. Yet a mother of 2 children will walk up and tell you what to do with your car immediately, knows everything about it. The only qualification she's got is she had to start the car herself. She had to get in there and make it go because she had no money. She had to change the wheel because it broke and the kids were inside. And the skill comes to you as you need it. And I know the skill will come to everybody as they need it. And as we move into areas that seem to be impossible, you'll be surprised who puts their hands up and says, oh, I can do that. And I will accept them straight away. Because fortunately, I have the history, I have the background, I have the umbrella company, so we can allow everybody to do anything. And if anything goes wrong, my responsibility. So let's see if we can enhance that by just seeing it, and everybody watching, just seeing the fact that it's possible. Because it's right now impossible. And our only intention is to take away the biggest dark spot in humanity. And that's cash flow. Not necessarily cash earned, but cash flow. So that you can enjoy yourself. Because society is based on cash, you need it. If you didn't drink water, you die. If you don't have cash, you die. So nobody says, well, here's a bundle of cash, help yourself, you look bad. They'll say, hey, here's a drink of water because you look bad. So we're going to change that. We're going to say, wow, because we're human and we know we can read humans, well, you need a bunch of cash right now. Here you go. Here's a little bit of a flow, and you need to get that flow every week. You can't have 1 drink of water today and none till next week. So we've got to get this feeling of flow in everybody's world so that we're not limiting our being because of our social entity. So I'll leave it at that, and remember, it's just like a drink of water. It needs to be provided for everyone. And they knew that when they set the world into a financial flow. And if they hadn't stopped the original plan, we'd have got a drink of cash flow without us having to serve anyone. You only serve that ultimate thing of presenting yourself on the stage of the world in the glory of what the Creator presented in your being. You're unique. Nobody is alike. You're special beyond belief. And you have a direct line to your Creator. And you are the first one on the list. So enjoy that. Stay connected to the world of magic and miracles. And look forward to us talking again next week. Thank you all.